All right, good evening. 6 o'clock on the dot. I'll call to order this joint meeting of the Cotati City Council and the successor agency to the former Cotati Community Redevelopment Agency. Let's start with a roll call, please.
Councilmember Savage.
Here.
Councilmember Sparks.
Here.
Councilmember Harvey.
Here.
Vice Mayor Lemus.
Here.
Mayor Ford.
Here. And I'm going to go to agenda item 2, public comment on non-action agenda items, before doing our ceremonial items, because we have people who like to speak before those ceremonial items. So this is the chance to speak on any non-action agenda items that are included, things like reports, presentations, anything like that. I'd invite public comment now. We'll start in the room. Go right, come on up.
I would like I've been saying this for 20 months, that you need, for a future agenda item, the code enforcement scandal. Sacramento officials were very interested in what your staff has been doing in the last 5 years, and especially putting up the sewer, trying to find code violations by putting up a scope up George Barrett's sewer line and naming names. The whistleblower has done this, and you guys act like nothing wrong. You also, Rob Friar Tuck's is involved in the code enforcement scandal, and that Robert Smith was the citing official, and he owned he was previous owner of Murphy's Bar in Sonoma, and it was a competing Irish pub, and we found this out in the last 2 years, that that basically he did the COVID health orders to shut down Friar Tuck's, repeatedly selecting and enforcing them, and then meanwhile benefiting his interests in the city of Sonoma with the Murphy's pub, where he has lots of friends, and the mayor used to do. It's a big scandal, and this city, my mom was so happy when watching me testify in Sacramento the other day about what's going on in Cotati. And I had a whole room of attorneys, I had a whole room of lawmakers, and everybody was laughing because I was backing up. After speaking the truth, I was backing up because I was scared, because here I hear repercussions every time. The chair was so nice to me, I'm going, you're being nice to me, and came back up. You guys are so rude and don't do public comment, and you need to learn how to respect people and know what your staff is doing. And whistleblowers come and you guys do nothing. We proved everything in that the whistleblower said with backup documents, and anyway, I'm done. And I don't like your face, Mr. Ford. It looks so angry all the time at me.
Thank you, and I'm sorry I'm not angry at you at all. Yes, Mr. Barrett.
Thank you. It's former Councilman George Barrett. I remember when I was sitting up on the dais and Shelley Berman came up and she told me, "Wipe that smirk off your face, George." She said a lot of things, Mayor, but that statement right there just kind of reminded me, on the one hand, we're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't, no matter what your facial expression is. So it's a tough job being on the council. Back to your public comment, your comments on introducing public comments on non-action items. I don't get it. I didn't understand it. It was a bunch of gobbledygook. I don't understand what you're doing with this when you're talking about ceremonial items and so forth. You're trying to pull a fast one over our eyes here, trying to add ceremonial items to an agenda without putting numbers on them and officially putting them on the agenda. It's not going to work. It's a runaround. Anybody's going to be able to see through it. I do have some suggestions for you on this. Look it. We all work very hard. We pay our taxes. We took up the challenge to come to these meetings many years ago to get involved in our body politic and be part of the solution and be part of the town. We came, we did not always agree with what the council was doing, and we got on their bad side, and we got blacklisted and retaliated on and so forth, and spied on and selectively enforced on and so forth, as the story goes, as Lori just told it. But the fact is, we've taken the moment of silence out of these meetings years ago. And we come here to these meetings, and we don't want to hear your prayers to the land. We don't want to hear your prayers to Allah, Jesus, Buddha. There is a perfect place for it, though. During your council members' reports, you have a right to talk about anything you did. Gay Pride Parade, what you did, what church functions you went to, tell a few jokes. But we, as citizens, we get to go home. We're here for city business. We want to get through city business. And if you want to take up time towards the end of the night to talk about what's going on in your life and so forth, that's the place to put your silly land acknowledgments, which are really prayers in disguise. Because it's not science, sir. Any college professor will tell you it's not science. It's based on faith. You have some faith in the fact that the ground is listening to you, and ancient civilizations and their spirits are listening to you, and bringing down the graces, good graces on Katati because of how you spend this time paying tribute. It's religious in nature, and I think in the long run you're going to be inviting a lawsuit because there's should be a clear separation of church and state. And you're walking very dangerously over this territory, which any federal judge can see a mile away. He's already, one judge has already advised the council that the city of Katati needs to go back to school on the First Amendment. Go back and research all this. I think you can have your cake and eat it too. Just don't do it by offending us, pushing us through your silly white guilt, virtue signaling stuff, this woke crap that you are hell-bent on doing, threatening to arrest people, when it is you who are disrupting the meetings, and it's you the one who runs the risk of being arrested. I don't want to see that. You're the disruptor. And you could be charged. Not something pleasant any of us want to see. You need to consult an attorney, consult your professionals. Yes, am I out of time, sir? Thank you.
What else in the chamber? Yes.
Mayor Ford, I'm likewise confused. Did you say that you're going to give time to speak to land acknowledgement, the ceremonial items, or are we supposed to do that now?
This is the time, if you wish
This
to.
is the time, okay. Well, as I've said before, I'm going to quote you the code again, 54954.3A. I'm not going to read the first part of it. It just says, provided that no action shall be taken on any item not appearing on the agenda. So until you pass that resolution tonight to put these things back on the agenda, you should not be performing those actions. I'm going to let you do what you want. You know, you're just setting yourself up, as Mr. Barrett said, for a lawsuit, for whatever. I don't even want to go there with that. I would like to speak to the item. I know it's an action item later on. I don't know if I want to wade through the rest of your agenda. And I just wanted to remind you that that same section in B1 says the legislative body of a local agency may adopt reasonable
This is comments on
regulations.
non-action agenda items, sir, not comments on the regular agenda at this point.
So you want me to wait till the end? You got to put
you
me
can-
through the process. That's fine.
We're going to have the discussion
it's-
later.
it's fine.
So I'd like you to have the comments during that discussion.
Okay. I guess I could do it during public comment. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anybody else in the chambers? Okay, let's check with our Zoom attendees.
Thank you, Mayor Ford. Speaking to our Zoom attendees, if you would like to make a public comment on this item, please use the raise hand icon. Seeing no hands, Mayor Ford, that will end public comment.
Okay, and so that'll end public comment on non-action agenda items. And we'll move into, we like to stand at the beginning of the meetings to read our land acknowledgement and say together the Pledge of Allegiance, and I invite you to join us if you wish.
Sir, you're out of order. This is not on the agenda, sir. According to the government code, each and every item.
Mr. Barrett,
that
you
speak
just
to
had 4
must
minutes to
be
speak on
the
this item.
agenda. You're out of order, sir.
Your
I'll
objection
log
is,
my
your objection is
quickly.
logged.
You're out of order. You're breaking the law.
The City of Cotati recognizes that we're on the ancestral lands of the Coast Miwok, who are the original caretakers of this area. We respectfully acknowledge the indigenous peoples who have been stewarding and maintaining a relationship on this land as knowledge keepers for millennia. This acknowledgement does not take the place of authentic relationships with indigenous communities, but serves as a gesture of respect to the land we are on. And now the pledge. All right, thank you. We move to item 3, approval of minutes and notice of waiving of reading of all resolutions and ordinances introduced and/or adopted under this agenda. We have 1 set of minutes. It's the regular meeting of June 10th. Have council members seen any changes that are needed? Okay, we'll open the minutes up to public comment. Anybody wishing to make comment on the minutes? Let's start with Zoom this time, and then.
Thank you, Mayor Ford. Once again, speaking to our Zoom attendees, if you would like to make a public comment on this item, please use the raise hand icon. Seeing no hands, Mayor Ford, that will end the Zoom portion of public comment. Thank you.
Okay, so now public comment in the room.
Once again, the last minutes do not reflect that there was objections made or anything. And you repeatedly, unanimously ignored my corrections to minutes over the last few years, last few months, seems like years. And this is wrong. And your lovely people over in City of Rohnert Park, I corrected the minutes. I pointed out that how they wrote it was not what happened, and they just half an hour ago changed their minutes. I don't like Rohnert Park showing more integrity than you guys, but you're obviously not going to show any. You'll pass it unanimously.
Anybody else with comments on the minutes? Okay, I'll close that public comment. And any discussion on the council? Okay, anybody want to make a motion?
Move to approve the minutes. Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that carries unanimously. And I have a few announcements to read. Meeting orientation for new attendees and viewers. In conformance with the Brown Act and the adopted City Council rules, the meeting agenda includes items labeled as action items where the City Council may consider the item. If the City Council considers the item, citizens will be afforded the opportunity to provide comments relevant to the item being discussed. The meeting agenda also includes a citizens' business item, which is the designated place on the agenda where citizens have the right to say whatever they wish. However, the Brown Act prohibits the City Council from taking action or considering any item that is not on this agenda to ensure that other members of the community who wish to provide comment are notified in advance through a properly noticed meeting agenda. Next, Measure S supports police services, a variety of recreation programs for all ages, and the maintenance of our streets, parks, and public buildings. See details on the web at cotaticity.gov. Next, citizens interested in receiving City of Cotati community alerts via text or email are encouraged to enroll with Civic Ready by signing up on the city's website, cotadicity.gov, under the How Do I link at the top of the homepage. Next, have you noticed a streetlight out, pothole, or issues in a city park? We want to keep Cotati beautiful and running smoothly, so please let us know what needs to be fixed by going to the Cotati website under How Do I and report a service request. And like always, we love to hear from you, so please feel free to contact the city at 707-792-4600 or info@cotadicity.gov. If you have a non-emergency issue after normal business hours, you can contact us at 707-792-4611. And of course, if you have an emergency, please contact 911. Continue to look for updates on the city's website and social media channels available on Facebook, Instagram, and Civic Ready. And that takes us to agenda item number 5, which is a presentation by Recology Sonoma Marin, and we have a couple of folks here from Recology to give us this presentation. So come on up and welcome.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Mayor Ford and council members. My name is Celia Ferber, and I'm the Community Relations and Sustainability Manager at Recology Sonoma Marin. And I'm joined here this evening by our Senior General Manager, Logan Harvey, as well as our Waste Zero Manager, Emily Harris. And I should note, I'm also a proud resident of Cotati. So I really appreciate you, allowing me the opportunity to speak with you this evening. And I'm basically gonna share some updates on our Waste Zero programs and diversion goals, landfill diversion goals, as well as some other cool projects that we have in the works right now. And Logan is going to present on some other highlights as well. So with that, I could do the next slide, please. Alrighty, so just a little bit of an overview about us. We've been providing service to the city of Cotati since December 23rd of 2017, and we serve about 2,200 customers in Cotati. We provide recycle, compost, and garbage collection services, construction demolition, collection and sorting services, street sweeping services, and recycling processing services. We are a 100% employee-owned company, so every single employee, all 470 employees up here, and of course we're a larger company as well. Every single Recology employee is an employee owner. We're not publicly traded and we're not privately owned, so that's a pretty cool thing about us that we're proud of. And then we're also proudly part of Teamsters Union 665. Next slide, please. So our mission is to recover resources and reduce tons sent to the landfill. And we actually have some really cool metrics to show the progress we've made over time. So in 2018, which was the first full year that we were the service provider for the city of Cotati, we hauled 5,101 tons to the landfill. And in 2024, which is the last full year that we have data on, we hauled 4,245 tons to the landfill. So obviously it's still, that's still a lot of tons to the landfill, but you can see that reduction over time. It's a 17% reduction. It is, let's see here, it's 856 tons difference. And so to put that into perspective, each garbage truck that you see carries around 10 tons. So that's about 86 trucks that instead of going to the landfill, they're going to a recycle or compost facility instead. And that's also further proven by, if you look at the compost and recycle tons, which are on the slide, in 2018, it was just over 2,800 tons recycled or composted, and then by 2024, it was over 3,600 tons composted and recycled, so a 29% increase. So definitely really proud to see those numbers trending in the right direction, both the landfill tons being reduced and the other tons being, the increase in the recycle and compost tons. And we can attribute that to, a wonderful community in Cotati that's really embraced this ethos. 54% of the customer base in Cotati is in the 20-gallon or 32-gallon garbage cart size. So that shows a community that's really embraced reduction, and it has embraced composting and recycling as well. And we also are proud supporters of the Reuse Alliance, and we think that repair and reuse and that kind of cultural movement that's happening is a big part of these numbers trending in the right direction as well. Next slide, please. So to get a little dry here, I won't linger on this slide too long, but there's a few state laws that require composting and recycling. And so for compost, that's SB 1383, and for recycling, that's AB 341. AB 341 went into effect in 2012, and SB 1383 went into effect in 2022. And so of the 136 commercial and multifamily dwelling customers in Cotati, 98% are in compliance with SB 1383, meaning they have compost service, most of them, and 100% are in compliance with AB 341, meaning all of them have recycle service. And my offer to anyone in this room and anyone on Zoom is we will happily show you around the city and kind of do lid flipping with you and show you, behind each restaurant, each business you see, and even the school, what their bins look like. And you will see they have a compost bin and they have a recycle bin. And some use them better than others. But they have the services, and that's fantastic. And that cultural change is happening.
So that 341 bullet should say recycling, not compost. Is that right?
Oh, excuse me. Yes, it should.
Okay.
Thank you. Good catch.
Thanks.
Sorry about that. Oh, sorry. Okay, next slide, please. We were excited to get the Cotati Rohnert Park school contract in 2023, and now we can really provide the education at Thomas Page Elementary that coincides with the programs that those students have at home as well. And we find that the more we can integrate in the schools, then the kids can get really involved. They take that knowledge home to their parents, and they actually end up schooling their parents, as many of us know. And that's how we can see this planet, that's how we can see a change happening over time. And so also I should note, I did kind of stop by Thomas Page just to see how they were doing before this presentation, and they're doing a great job, a really great job, so really proud of them. Next slide, please. So many of you have toured our new materials recovery facility. We built it in 2023. It officially opened November of 2023. It was a $35 million undertaking, and so that just shows our commitment to recycling. And we can process 400 tons per day. We have 7 optical sorters, and we have a recovery rate of 85%, meaning 85% of the materials we receive at the facility, we recycle. 15% are people putting things in that, it's usually accidental, it's usually not malicious. It's, they think film plastics or styrofoam are recyclable, and they're not, or we can't recover them at our facility. So 85% of what we receive, we are able to recycle, which we're really proud of. And we've given tours to over 1,200 people at this point. So once people see the facility for themselves, it's really eye-opening for them. And they want to do better. They want to stop wish cycling. They want to encourage their neighbors and family to recycle correctly. And they have a whole new appreciation for the process. I wanted to also note that by having this facility that can process all of the recyclables locally, we no longer need to outsource any sorting. Prior to this facility being built, we needed to outsource some of the sorting to facilities in San Jose and Ukiah and Napa. And by processing all of the recyclables locally, we estimate that we are saving over 3 million pounds of carbon dioxide annually. So that's a big win for the environment. Next slide, please. And I think on the last slide, I forgot to mention Councilmember Laura Sparks and Councilmember John Savage were on the previous slide. They're in one of my pictures because they toured the facility recently. And if anyone would like to learn more about the tours, there's a page on our website, and we also have a video. If you don't have time to go take a tour in person, there's a nice little 4-minute video there as well. Next slide, please. So we are very proud to be involved in this community. We provide, anytime there's an event in La Plaza Park, you'll see our compost, recycle, and garbage carts with clear signage. So we provide those services for all of the community events, and we're really proud to do that. We also, oftentimes, you'll see one of our educational tables at community events. Heather De Oliveira is the Waste Zero specialist devoted to Cotati. She's super creative. At Cotati Kids Day last year, it was Olympics themed, and she made medals out of cardboard, and the medallion was out of cardboard, and the kids got to decorate that. The little munchkin that you see coloring in a truck, that's my daughter last year. So our table was educational and pretty popular amongst the kids, and we're really honored and happy to be able to provide those tables at the community events and educate both at our table and also just people who happen to go to the event and see the color-coordinated carts. They kind of learn that way as well. In addition to community events, Heather De Oliveira is on the Chamber Board of Directors, so she's involved in the community through that aspect. She was helped to put on the music festival, which was this past weekend, so really happy to have her involvement there. And she also provides staff trainings to various restaurants, and at the school, she's working closely with the custodial staff to make sure that they understand the programs and that they're set up for success. And so Heather's pictured here, as well as Emily Harris, our Waste Zero manager. That was at Cotati Kids Day, and then the bottom one was at the Climate Fest, which was in March, I believe. Yeah, March of this year. Okay, next slide, please. And I will hand this over to Logan Harvey.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. My name is Logan Harvey. I'm the Senior General Manager for Ecology Sonoma Marin. And I just wanted to talk through some of the additional highlights that we have and kind of what we've been doing over the past 2 years since I kind of joined the team as the General Manager. We really focused on improving service, improving service quality. We put forth a new safety training program for drivers. So now all new drivers that come in, a lot of times these are guys that work in chip delivery or soda delivery. They haven't driven a garbage truck. It's very different driving, what's essentially a backhoe through a neighborhood, right? And we were kind of putting them with a route driver, having them drive through the community and train for a couple weeks. We've set that up to about 8 weeks of training. And so we have a whole yard program now where they're selecting and picking up bins in the yard for an extended period of time before we put them on route with an experienced driver, have them train there, and then finally let them go. This has improved our head count significantly. And so now we're about 5 seats away from full head count, which is a place that we haven't been before. This has led to lower misses throughout our community, better quality of service, and then that's led to less calls, which has reduced our call wait times, been cut in half. We've reduced that by about 5 minutes compared to last year. We added 2 head count to our customer service as well, so we can better serve your community. And we're looking in the next fiscal year to add 2 additional head counts so we can cut those wait times. Our goal is to be under 1 minute. Customer calls, they wait for less than a minute before they talk to one of our folks. So really important stuff there. The MRF, obviously, Celia already covered. Really important facility for us. It's been working really well. And on that residual return rate, the material that's going out the door and ending up in landfill, we've put an AI-enabled camera on that to do some analysis of what's going out the door. There is some PET and some aluminum that can be recovered, so we're looking at putting a robotic there to recover that material and keep it in the system, keep our residual rate heading down. That benefits us and also ratepayers by making sure that we keep our costs low. Some other things that are really exciting and interesting, we've got a trash art program that we're starting. So we have this AIR program, or Artist in Residence program, that we've done across Recology sites. We're now starting that here at Recology Sonoma Marin, thanks to Celia, Emily, and Marie. They've really done a great job. And so that's pairing with Art Start. We've got a number of students from Sonoma State and SRJC. They'll be digging through our trash pile, finding pieces of reclaimed material and then turning it into beautiful art. And so we've seen some really amazing, very interesting and kind of thought-provoking pieces come out of there. One of my favorites was we had an artist in Seattle. She took PET bottles, turned it into 3D printing material, and then took molds of our sorters' hands and made that into bottles, which is like really, really amazing and cool. Our Children's Museum exhibit is going to be in our Santa Rosa Children's Museum, so that'll be opening up, I think, in September, October of this year. Happy to let you know about that. It's going to be a cool Recology truck with a sorting game that'll let you know if you're right or wrong. Just continue to improve the education throughout the community. Little kids seem to love to teach their parents how to sort, so we try to start them young and send it up the chain. The Reuse Bazaar is happening in Santa Rosa. So this is a really cool program we started last year that, again, Celia and her Waste Zero team really headed up. And it's a place that's kind of like a mobile thrift store. People come in, we take their material out, clothing, furniture, sort that, and then people can shop it. So you can drop off material that you know or want to use. We verify that it's in working order, and then you can shop it and take it away. And we saw a lot of use there. There was a guy who was like almost in tears because he didn't have a couch for his apartment, and he got a couch there for free and was able to take it back. And it's a really positive impact that we're able to have in the community. And so just wanted to share these highlights for you. Another thing, and I almost missed it, we added an additional route day to the city of Cotati. So making sure that our trucks are here, this helps us if we have any service issues. We're going to go ahead and take care of that. And on that, as far as service issues, we're starting to embark on putting cameras on all of our trucks. We just completed putting cameras on all the commercial trucks so we can provide service verification. If somebody calls us and lets us know, hey, you missed me. We're going to be able to look back and see that individual customers on that day, find out if we did in fact miss them. If we did, then we know we can coach the driver. If we didn't, then we know the other way and we can talk to the customer. We're going to implement that on the residential side as well. So lots of improvements coming down the pipe. And just thank you so much. We're so proud to serve in the city of Cotati. We appreciate all of your support and we appreciate working with staff as well. And if you have any questions, happy to answer them.
Great, thanks so much. Any council member questions?
No, I just want to say thank you. It was a very informative presentation, and it was great to see the recycle facility. I'd encourage anyone who hasn't done that to go out and take a tour.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor
Councilmember
Davis.
Savage.
No, I also want to thank you and appreciate all you do in the community. You're all over. Ecology, it's everywhere. And I do work with Heather on the Chamber of Commerce. I appreciate that. And I had a question on your totes, your dumpster, your totes that you have at different events.
Yeah.
I was at an event in San Francisco, Carnival in San Francisco.
Sure.
And they had like a cardboard box with the plastic bags in there. And then so people come around, just pick them up and replace them. Do we have those cardboard boxes here too? Or-
We've used those before, so we have some stands that are kind of like it's a plastic bag underneath a smaller tote. We've
Right.
done those before. I don't know if we've had people on site to replace them before, but we kind of either go either with the full-on carts or we do those. So those are both kind of options that we use. I don't know if you have additional.
So they're
on that, but-
optional, like if we wanted to use those so they can take the bags out at night or something?
Yeah,
and-
we've used those before,
Okay.
for sure. You want to make sure you have a receptacle somewhere else to take them to, but
Like a dumpster, small dumpster or something? Okay. All right, thank you.
For sure.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Anything else? Oh, go ahead.
Look, and I don't know if you have this or if this is possible or not, but all year round, we don't necessarily have yard waste. There are parts of the year that we don't have any, and having a big giant bin is problematic to try and drag down. Are there any other options for green waste for different times a year, or ways to handle that you've seen elsewhere since you've kind of been
So
involved
we
in?
see our set-out rate, which is customers putting the bin in front of their house, fluctuate the most in our green cans, and that's why they're some of our heaviest routes. We'll have a lot of them on there. We do have offerings of different sizes, so if people wanted to go to, a 32 or a 64, that's stuff that we can and have done. I'm not sure what Cotati's contracts has as far as sizes. Certainly something we can discuss as we're getting towards the end of that contract if we look towards a renewal. As far as like giving you a bin and then taking it away and then giving it back, that's a lot of additional labor for us if a lot of customers subscribe to it, to kind of, do the delivery and return and tracking and the rest of it. So if that was something that, we're open to any sort of discussion that folks have, but that's,
Okay.
that's-
So there
that's
are
the challenge.
different size green bins also?
Yeah, we can
Okay.
certainly purchase green bins in any size.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Just thank you for the presentation, and I'll second what Councilmember Savage said, that the tour was really eye-opening, and actually a lot more different kinds of plastics were being recycled successfully than I had realized, so that was really useful for me to learn. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Sparks.
Great, and I just want to add my thanks. Thanks for being here tonight and for the great presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it.
All right, that'll take us to agenda item 6, agenda review. Are there any proposed changes to the printed agenda?
No proposed changes, Mayor.
Okay, so we'll move right on to citizen business and public comment for consent calendar items. Bye-bye, thanks. So any member of the public wishing to speak to the council on any items listed on the consent calendar or any matters not listed on the agenda that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council may do so at this time. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the council is not allowed to consider issues or take action on any item not listed on the agenda. Pursuant to City Council Policy 2025-02, comments of any member of the public are normally restricted to a total of 3 minutes in length per person for matters not on the agenda, and a total of 3 minutes per person in length for any and all items on the consent calendar. The mayor may extend the time limit for a reasonable time where a disability accommodation has been requested. To facilitate public comment, the timer indicator lights will display yellow when there are 30 seconds remaining and red when time has expired. And for this, we'll start in the room. So come up, Ms. Alderman.
I like to start with consent calendar because I always forget it.
That's fine.
I think that you should pull item D, which is the approval of the celebration of life for Cheryl Nixon. Because of the code enforcement scandal, you caused harm to their family, and I tried to help them. They didn't like George, of course, but they liked me, and I tried to help them deal with the city and go through this. They should not have a single city fee for the celebration of life. Yes, the alcohol, that, but not anything else. And so now I'm going on to citizens' business. The city council rules change. I am going to walk out this door at the beginning. They're revengeful, they're inappropriate to do, and how much money have you spent on this? On silencing George Barrick, me? It's got to be close to $1 million between the lawsuits and everything. What are you going? And you're harming everybody else. You're going to try to bring down the speaking time to 1 minute. What's next? 15 seconds, I get? You guys are breaking the law. We've been trying to bring the laws to you and you insist on breaking the law. Federal judges tell you you cannot use the Brown Act to and city council rules to impede free speech. That was part of the Judge Chen in 2022. They told us, he thought I was the smartest one in the room because of the federal supremacy clause. Are you going to have to explain this again? Oh, we decided to go after George Barrick again one more time because we didn't like him in disrupting the meetings. How many lawsuits are you guys wanting to have? The other thing is the secret meetings on this code enforcement here. You broke the ADA repeatedly. What's been happening is Kevin sets up everything. The attorneys get together and the judge, and they change things at the last minute, or have it on Friday when city council is closed. And so I don't get, they held a telephone conference instead, which makes it a secret meeting and breaks the ADA against me. I've informed you of this and you've done nothing. It continues. How many federal lawsuits do you want? There's citizens that have been harmed, that we've been told to turn off our cameras and we can't record. We can't put things on the internet. We have to sit quietly like as if we were in a courtroom. Not the council chambers. They've informed us it's not a public meeting to have a code enforcement hearing. How many lawsuits do you want? You've got enough. You got the mobile home park. You got a police one. Sarah's going to start getting pretty upset with all of you guys, and keeping George Barrich's one at. It's 2 years this has been going on now and all that happened, and you're keeping it at the administrative hearing level so that you don't have to tell Sarah. You're taking out other budgets. How much costs are you using? How much senior centers and everything, senior services? No, you're paying attorneys, you're paying lawyers everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the chambers for citizen business or consent calendar?
I can understand Ms. Alderman's frustration, but I don't want to talk about that right now, other than the one point she made about the 1 minute. which is coming up after the consent calendar. But I'm not going to talk about the actual resolution you're having on there. I just want to remind you that the Attorney General, in his opinion, 75 Ops, California Attorney General 89 in 1992, said a reasonable amount of time to speak to something is 5 minutes. Now, no council gives you 5 minutes because they just don't want to hear from the public. We understand that. But it has to be a reasonable amount of time. Unless your room is packed, you cannot say 1 minute is a reasonable amount of time. That's all I want to say on that. Now, the other thing which relates to time, speaking times, is you had a proclamation on your last agenda, which was the recognition of Juneteenth. You gave the proclamation. It wasn't a presentation. Those people should not have been able to come up here and speak for 15 minutes apiece. I sat through it and listened to it. I found it interesting, but really, it was inappropriate. You don't give anybody 15 minutes. If I had wanted to come up and refute anything they said, would you have given me 15 minutes? No. You would have told me you have 3 minutes to speak. So I'm just warning you, you need to be consistent with this stuff, and you need to recognize what you're doing, Mr. Ford, as you're doing it. And as for the commentary about George Barrich, I'd say it's ridiculous what's been going on. As Mr. Smith said himself, he's never seen one of these cases go on for more than like a day or for a couple of hours. And that's because everybody's caved into Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith is a problem child, and we're seeing it across communities. It's happened in my community. It happened to me. And the lawsuit's just waiting to happen. They're not coming after me because they know I will sue them if they ever try to collect the liens they have against me. And I look forward to it. But I'm really looking forward to this federal lawsuit that's going to get filed against you people for violating Mr. Barrich's rights, for doing selective enforcement, for retaliation, and we have documentation, a declaration from one of your own employees saying that this happened. So what Ms. Alderman is saying, you need to pay attention to, because it's coming down the pike. I don't know how you're going to solve the problem now. It's too late. It's already happened. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else in the chambers? Okay, let's go to Zoom.
Thank you, Mayor Ford. Once again, speaking to our Zoom attendees, if you'd like to make a public comment on this item, please use the raise hand icon. Seeing no hands, Mayor Ford, that will end public comment.
Okay, thank you. So that takes us to item 8, the consent calendar. Does any council member wish to pull any item? Okay, looking for a motion to approve.
Move to approve the consent calendar.
Second?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that carries 5-0. All right, and that moves us to our regular agenda. We only have one regular agenda item, which is item A.
Sorry, Mayor.
It's at the bottom of the page. I missed it. Thank you. So item 9, direction on future agenda items. Do any council members have future agenda items they wish to propose? Okay, not seeing any. Thank you for the correction. Now we're on to item 10, the regular agenda item, the City Council rules update. Take 2, 3, 4, whatever it is. All right, let's start with the staff report.
All right, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. So as the City Council knows, we have had city meetings regularly disrupted the last couple months, which we have tried to address with rule changes by allowing the public to comment on items the City Council is not considering. The proposed rule changes before you would create a public comment period with every item on the agenda. So 3 minutes for items that the council is considering, and 1 minute or some other time that the council may choose. It could be 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, but the concept's the same for everything else. Staff are not aware of any other city that opens every item to public comment, but it's an option that's presented in the staff report. Another option to consider, which is very common, is to just eliminate the action, non-action labels, which would allow the chair to open public comment as needed in addition to the normal public comment periods. Planning Commission, the Police Advisory, and uses meeting format as well as many other public bodies. So the downside, if you call it that, is that opportunities for public comment on items under City Council consideration are not labeled as action on the face of the agenda, so there's that. In either case, the rules are updated to add proclamations, update the agenda order for meeting efficiency, delete the recently added language around the pledge and the land acknowledgement. And just to note that a definition of action taken from the government code is added, but regardless of which way the council wants to go, I do suggest that this definition is moved up to 3D, this is rules page 7 of 28, under action agenda items at the end of the existing paragraph. So these changes are proposed to better manage meetings and accomplish the public's business more efficiently. We believe they meet or exceed all the Brown Act requirements, regardless of which recommendation the council goes with. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions if the council has any.
Just want to clarify the moving of the definition of action taken that you're proposing is from, what is it? 5G on page 16 of 28, packet page 86, up to item E on page 7 of 28, is that, or?
That's correct, yeah. It's the existing item E, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Just to consolidate the concepts there in one place.
Yeah. Okay, any council questions before we open for public comment? Okay, let's open up for public comment, and I think this time we're starting on Zoom.
Thank you, Mayor Ford. Once again, Zoom attendees, please use that raise hand icon to make a public comment on this item. Mayor Ford, there are no hands on Zoom.
Okay, and anybody in the chambers wishing to speak on this item, go right ahead.
I just wanted to speak to this briefly, Mr. Mayor. I sent you all an email, and you were kind enough, Mayor Ford, to respond to me. I appreciate that. I believe Mr. Obid is incorrect on a number of statements that he made. It is not a disruption to stand up for your rights. We have a right to speak to any item on the agenda. He says his staff doesn't know of any other city that allows you to speak to any item on the agenda. My city allows us to speak on any item on the agenda. I had to get the city attorney to tell the mayor that that was required by the Brown Act. So maybe Mr. Obid has never seen it. I'm telling him right now, he needs to check the city of Dixon because it's done there. And any other city I've gone to, they've never fought me on this, not like you people have. I do appreciate Mr. Obid saying that maybe we should take the action, non-action labels off because it's not defined in the Brown Act. I've told you this before. There is no such thing as non-action action items. It just says any item of interest to the public that they want to speak to, they can speak to. I'm just asking you to be reasonable. You want this meeting to run smoothly? It's real simple. And I appreciate the fact that either Mr. Bacher or Mr. Obid has presented this to you as in order to comply with the Brown Act, even though they say it's not necessary. It is, in my opinion, necessary to do it this way. And if you do that, your meetings will run smooth. When it comes to land acknowledgement, you simply say, does anybody want to speak to it? Boom, you're done. So let's get on with it and quit playing games. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the chambers wishing to speak on this? Okay, that'll close public comment. So back to the council for discussion. Councilmember Sparks.
So I've been thinking over the proposed changes, and I have no issue with removing the distinction between the action and the non-action agenda. I think that's become sort of a point of confusion, so it's totally fine with me to just do away with that and list everything on the agenda, and we'll allow people to comment to it. I do feel that we've gotten into a pattern where the regular agenda item, like the regular action, what we normally call regular action items, are not coming up in the meeting until 6:45 or 7 o'clock or even later, because we have so much public comment on some of the items that we've been calling ceremonial items. And I think that that's unfortunate, because I've seen a lot of folks attend the meetings, you know, they didn't come here because they wanted to talk about the Pledge of Allegiance or the land acknowledgement. Some of the folks who come for the later agenda items, and then they have to wait through all of this, you know, preamble before we get to the part that they're here for. So I would propose that we just eliminate all of the items at the beginning. I would love to see us just eliminate the land acknowledgement, eliminate the Pledge of Allegiance, eliminate the spoken announcements, just have them written, and just get right to the main event of the meeting. That would be my preference.
Councilmember Harvey.
I would concur that I don't think that the action, non-action are serving us very well at this point. I don't have a problem with removing some of the items, but I think I would have a problem with removing the Pledge of Allegiance. But the other items and leaving the announcements, I would be okay with that. And the other thing is this distinction, I guess if we do action, non-action, I mean, I think 3 minutes is a reasonable amount of time for anyone to speak on any of the items that they wish. So that would be my thoughts there.
Either of you on this side want to go next?
I think eliminating the action, non-action would definitely serve us well. I also like getting to the meat of the meeting and the business at hand as quickly as we can. I think having the pledge in there is fine, and I also like the 3-minute limit. I think that's appropriate as well.
Yeah, I think that, eliminating the public comment on non-action agenda items is fine. As far as the land acknowledgement and Pledge of Allegiance, my thought is either keep them both in or take them both out. That's my thought on that. As an extra item that maybe doesn't need to be spoken to.
I'm comfortable removing the no action, the action, non-action distinction. I'm with the vice mayor. I would rather either leave both the pledge and the land acknowledgement in or take them both out. If we take them out, I would like them printed in the agenda, but not spoken during the meeting. So I could go either way on that, either leave them both in or move them both to a printed setting. And I have watched some other council meetings where they don't do any of that at the beginning of the meeting, and I'd be okay with that to get to the items we actually need to consider quicker. So I want to talk about how I would propose to handle public comment if we remove the distinction. So there's, sorry, now I need to find the right, where is the, yeah, so the section on public comment, which is in 5G, 1, public comment, it currently says public comment action items, but if we get rid of the distinction, it would just, all right, let me find it in there. I got too many copies of this going on. Yeah, so on page 16 of 28, or packet page 86, time allocation for public comment and presentations. That paragraph says, to ensure full access for any public wishing to speak and to maintain a timely and efficient meeting, public comment on any one agenda item where the City Council will be taking some action is limited to no more than 3 minutes per person. and then goes on to describe the consent calendar and citizens' business. But on items where we're not taking any action, my proposal is that we not go through the process of calling for public comment. We just, if anybody either on Zoom or in the audience raises their hand when that item comes up, then we open it for public comment. So rather than taking the extra minute it takes to open the public comment more formal process, that we stick with the 3-minute standard limit, same for all of them, but it's only when we're actually going to take action that I would formally call, okay, before our discussion, I'll invite people in the, on Zoom and in the chambers to make public comment. That's just a thought about procedure for how to handle it, and that's very common as well. If you look at big city councils, they do not call for public comment on all these agenda items, even if they're happy to take it when people have it to offer. So if we move in that direction, that's how I'd propose to handle it. So I just want that to be in the mix as we discuss it.
Yeah, I like that proposal, and I think we could, I know that this is not necessarily something that's defined within the Brown Act, maybe the city attorney can correct me, but for me, if we're going to give any direction to staff or take a vote, that to me is something where it's really important to make sure that we're purposefully including public comment, and that's how I kind of think of action, you know, if we're giving direction or voting on something. So I'd be fine with making that clear somehow, that we're gonna proactively solicit comment on those things, and otherwise just be happy to take comment if somebody is interested in giving it.
Sorry, I'm trying to find the section where it talks about the sort of typical order of an item, because it does list those. Yeah, general item process on page 9 of 28. So, yeah, so that would need to be modified if we were going to do my process. The following process is the normal order of business for an agenda item, except, you know, it walks through. So if we were going to do my process there, the following process is the normal order of business for an agenda item where the council will take action. That's on page 9 of 28. Or intends to take action. Yeah, go ahead.
Since we do still have different sections of the agenda, you know, there's a section for regular agenda items. Maybe we could, without having to wordsmith things within that, we could just change the title. Instead of general agenda item, it could be regular, whatever. I'm so sorry, what do we call that section?
Yeah, there's regular agenda. Maybe you're right. Maybe on page 9 of 28, could that just be renamed regular agenda item process? Because I think that's really all it applies to. It doesn't apply to public hearings because that's a different section, and we don't follow that process for minutes or.
You're looking to make a distinction between the process when you proactively are soliciting public comment versus if someone's interested in commenting on whatever, you know. That.
Yes, but this process in 4C really does only apply to regular agenda items, I believe.
Sorry, but it would apply to the consent calendar, and it would kind of apply to the citizens' business.
Well, we don't do a staff report, we don't.
No, but, yeah.
So all of this, I'm talking about the whole process only really applies to the consent, to the regular agenda.
So then would we have a different process for these other items?
Right, it's a good question.
Just a quick note, when we do, I mean, I think this would only apply to consent when we pull something. And when we pull something from consent, we usually move it to the regular agenda section.
Right, it goes on the regular agenda.
Because we're not getting staff reports on consent.
But I think the point is if we just call this regular agenda item, then there's nowhere in the rules that spells out calling for public comment for the minutes and the consent calendar and all that stuff that we all know we take, you know, we explicitly call for public comment on those things.
That's my concern with this process is then it feels like we'll have to label all of these things and say how we're going to take public comment on them. That's my only concern about that is a little bit, in my mind, a little confusing.
Mr. Mayor, may I offer a
Yes.
suggestion?
Yes, please.
Damien and I were looking at that particular provision. It clearly only applies when there's a formal action to be taken, there's consideration by the council, and then an action at the end where there's a motion made and the council votes. So maybe we could change it to be clear that process applies to actions where, items on the agenda where there's going to be an action taken.
Yeah, that's fine, except that much of the process doesn't apply. Like, we don't take a staff report on the minutes. We don't.
True.
So things like
It does
that.
say as needed.
Yeah, we could
Oh,
add
good
it as
point.
needed,
Yeah.
right? Because
Oh,
there
that-
is.
No, that is
on
there.
the-
You're right. Good point. Good point. Oh, you're right. Okay, so back to my original then was for the normal order of business for an agenda item where the council will take action.
Right. So just change the title and maybe the text of that a little bit to make it clear. It's kind of a guideline anyway. It's the normal process. So if we just make
Right.
clear that it only applies to an item where the council would be taking a specific action.
So would it be instead of regular general action agenda item?
Yeah, I think we'd strike general in the title and say agenda item process where the city council will take an action.
Go, Councilmember.
We've had a lot of public comment disputing the definition of action. And so I think that to clarify this for everybody, could we say we'll take an action through a motion or formal or other formal action or
How about
something?
we'll make a decision or
We'll make a decision, there we
something like
go.
that.
Yeah, I think decision makes sense because the Brown Act does use the phrase decision. I think it's quoted in the rules, and that's really what the distinction we're making is, where the council's taking some kind of formal action, a decision. I think I want to make a distinction there, though, that it's assumed that you'll make a decision, but you know, the agenda item might propose a decision, but you don't have to make one. So we would want to make that clear, too.
Councilmember Harvey.
So how will we inform folks that they can raise their hand and speak on the other items using your process? How will they know? Is my only, I don't,
Right.
I'm not saying I don't like it. What I'm
Right.
saying is how will they know?
Right. I mean, I guess we could add some text to the agenda stuff at the beginning, or, yeah, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, as I understand it, I mean, in the normal course of business, if someone's interested in making a comment, they'll indicate that. And then at that point, the chair could open up.
But how will they know they can indicate it is what Councilmember Harvey is asking. How will they know that's an option?
As you know, I represent a number of clients, and many of them have the process where where a member of the public has to raise their hand if they want to comment on an item. The council or the board doesn't always announce that people have a right to speak on an agenda item, but if somebody pops up and asks to speak, then they're allowed to speak. So it's not always the case that the public is prompted, made aware of the fact that they have the ability to speak, so you could just include it on the agenda. I'm not aware of any cases under the Brown Act that requires you to announce it, but you certainly could put it in the instructions at the beginning of the meeting. There's a lot of detail there already, and you could include something about that.
I was going
Vice
to
Mayor
say
Lemus.
what our attorney said was, could we add it to the announcements? You know, and then people will start getting used to that they can raise their hand if they have a question during an action item.
A non-action item. Action items, we're still calling for
yes,
public
non-action.
comment. So I would rather just put it in the printed agenda myself.
So if we do that, there needs to be words around, I think, since we have hybrid meetings that have Zoom, so that the people on Zoom, I mean, it's obvious when people are here, we can see them, going like this. It's not as obvious for people on Zoom to know that they need to raise their hand, because Kevin usually prompts them to raise their hand.
Right, that would have to, that instruction would have to be in the agenda
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just, if you're gonna, get that detailed.
I think there must be a way technologically for us to have a brief comment that's visible to people who are on Zoom, somehow in the chat, something, so that they can see that they can raise their hand, some kind of written instruction. Or we could append a short sentence about that to the bottom of our slides, so that when there's a slideshow going on, there's a footnote that says something like that people on Zoom might be able to see, or something to that effect.
I would suggest adding it to the agenda. I think if someone really wants to, there's a lot of, as the structure exists already, there's ample opportunities throughout the agenda to comment. If someone really wants to comment at some other point, it could be printed in the agenda. If we really want to go another step, we could, for the Zoom audience, maybe we have something on the splash screen before the meeting starts. But I think regardless, there's still going to be plenty of opportunities for people to comment on whatever they want to comment on, as it is today,
So if we, let's see, is all of the, so there's already in the printed stuff at the beginning of the agenda, there's public comment action items, public comment non-action items. Those have to be rewritten if we go this route anyway, and we would include in that public comment, and it would say, whatever that phrase, if the city council, if the agenda item is one which the city council intends to consider, public comment will be invited. If, for all other items, please raise your hand, either virtually or in person, when the item begins, to indicate that you wish to make comment. Is that a fair way to say that?
That would be reasonable, I think.
And then, so here's where I think we're landing. Remove the distinction. And go back to, when I've watched other city council meetings, kind of a more standard process is only explicitly calling for public comment on items where we're going to consider the item. But as soon as anybody, either Zoom or in person, indicates a desire to speak on any of the other items, the presiding officer recognizes them and at that point opens public comment explicitly. Okay, I'm going to open public comment. We have somebody who wishes to speak. The council is not considering this item, but because we have somebody wishing to speak, we'll open public comment. Does that sound like a way to go?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I think we want to use the phrase, consider making a decision as the phrase. I think that makes sense. Everyone probably knows what that means. It's consistent with the Brown Act language. Damian, I don't know what you were thinking. Are we going to try to make the changes to the rules tonight, or just take direction for next meeting agenda and then bring back a clean copy? Because I kind of feel like we need to go through the rules thoroughly and the agenda and make sure everything lines up based on the council direction we're receiving tonight.
So I am, I'm getting the sense that we'll hopefully agree on the changes, and I can just throw it on the consent calendar for the next meeting, just so everyone can see what the edits actually are.
Yeah, I would rather have you and the attorney give a holistic look to the whole set before we actually approve.
Yeah.
I think, is the text at the beginning of the first page of the agenda, is that in the rules?
It recites sections of the rules, but it's
Right.
not in the rules.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So.
I believe that's Damian produces that based on what's in the rules, right? So every time the rules change, then we update it. So
Yeah.
we got some direction tonight, and I think we'll go ahead and update it for the next meeting, and then clean up the rules based on what we've heard tonight and bring them back for your final approval.
Is everybody okay with that direction? Come back next time, so.
Did
Remove
we-
the distinction, 3 minutes on everything, but we'll only explicitly call either when somebody indicates they wishes to speak or when it's a decision, action item.
I just wondered if we could make sure we know where we stand on keeping or eliminating the preamble items.
I wanted to ask the attorney, is there a legal reason we need to read those announcements?
No, Mr. Mayor, you do not have to read those. Those are for the public's information, so you don't have to read them. I think you developed a tradition of doing so, but they could just be in writing. In fact, you don't even need to have them. I think they're designed to be informational and helpful to the public.
Right. Okay, so thoughts about the pledge and land acknowledgement and the announcements? What do people think?
Well, I think we kind of shared earlier what we thought. Either, my thought was either keeping both of them or taking both out if you know, it creates issues.
If we keep them both in, it just means, you know, the potential of a public comment period before, and then we do them both. So presumably not a lot of time, but if numbers pile up, maybe.
I mean, I don't know that we can presume that it won't be a lot of time,
Okay.
because it has been a lot of time for the last few months.
But if we change the rules that allow for the 3 minutes, it's done. It's 3 minutes. You raise your hand, you're done. You go sit down. We've had a lot of disruption because there's been kind of getting to that has taken
sure.
a lot of time.
For sure, but people have strong feelings about some of these things, so, you know, they might wish to continue making a 3-minute comment on the announcements, a 3-minute comment on the pledge, a 3-minute comment on the land acknowledgement, times several people. I mean, that could very well continue, even if we change the rules, which, you know, that's their right to comment on those things. It just means that we're potentially pushing the start of the other parts of the meeting later consistently.
So I'm okay with not reading the announcements. That gives us some time. I really feel strongly about the pledge, sorry. You know, I'm willing to go either way with you on the land acknowledgement, but I do feel strongly about the Pledge of Allegiance, sorry.
What about the thought of placing it somewhere else in the meeting so it's not at the beginning of the meeting? Because I don't like that acrimonious atmosphere that is created through all these comments. And what if we put it at another place?
Put what another place?
The land acknowledgement in the pledge.
Do you have a thought about where?
Towards the end. As maybe we have some type of a ceremonial thanking everyone for participating, any minor announcements that we want to wrap up the meeting, and then do our land acknowledgement and our pledge at that time.
I would be fine with that, putting it like just before the reports, the city managers and city council member reports. That would be fine with me.
I'm fine with that too.
Any other thoughts?
Already said I'd rather just remove them, but
Right.
whatever you decide.
I can live with them down at the bottom. I just,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, I can live with that too. So just before reports, is that all right for the proposal? You got that? Okay. And announcements, just merge the current out loud announcements with the printed announcements. Just get it all in one, okay? Okay. Anything else? You've got the direction you need?
Yeah, so I'll just, it's basically as discussed in my staff report in terms of the edits, with the removal of, or the movement of the announcements to the printed part of, just a printed preamble of the agenda, moving the land acknowledgement and pledge to before the reports. As I mentioned, the the items talking about the land acknowledgement and pledge and the rules would be deleted as shown in the staff report. The definition of action taken would move up to action agenda items E. We're adding, we're deleting action items from public comment. So it's, in other words, the change in the agenda, so we don't have the action, non-action bifurcation. We're adding proclamations into items that are typically action, and then the public comment for non-action items be largely deleted except for the phrase about if, and this is I think older language, just if the council starts discussing items beyond brief council follow-up, then we would open it up like any other action item. Even though I'm using the terminology, but we're getting away from that moving forward. And then the last thing is on page 9 of 28 of the rules, under what was item C, general agenda item process, we just changed that to agenda item process where city council will consider making a decision. And yeah.
Or a better phrase that you and the attorney come up with.
Yeah, right. Right. So I think that summarizes it. But we'll, like I said, we'll redline it all and bring it back on consent calendar for the next meeting.
Yes.
There was in the report, the collapsing of city manager report and council member reports.
Yes.
Are we?
I'm assuming that's still,
Okay.
we're going
I just
forward with that. And, right. And
had
that,
to ask.
and that land acknowledgement and pledge will come back as one item.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of as shown in the markups, but
Right.
Okay.
there wasn't one
Yeah.
comment.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you all. So that does indeed take us to item 11, city manager's report.
All right, so Putnam Park construction is ongoing. Most of the dog park fence posts have been installed, and the concrete curb is also in, as I reported last meeting. Irrigation lines are going in, as well as completing the fence between the posts. That's happening early this week. The Sunflower Park project is currently out to bid, and we plan to open bids on July 1. Assuming we receive good bids, we will bring this to City Council on July 8th. Design on the street rehabilitation project is underway, including preservation work for the rest of East Cotati. As you guys saw tonight with the SB1 project extent, that's the remainder of East Cotati to get to the city limits. Reconstruction of Lasker, Lund Hill, and potentially Aretsky if there's adequate budget. So this is expected to go out to bid in July. And so we'll be back in August with that, assuming the bids, again, come in good. City crews have been flushing the water mains in the L section last night, and we're going to continue flushing tonight and tomorrow. It's just a routine process to ensure high-quality water. There's sand that tends to deposit at the bottom of the water mains, and that flushes that out. And then this Wednesday, on June 25th, our Community Development Department is hosting a neighborhood meeting here from 6 to 7 p.m. to talk about the city's transit-oriented communities rezoning project. And this project seeks to implement the planned Bay Area 2050 goal of increasing housing and commercial land uses within a half mile of our train station, but transit stations throughout the Bay Area. Invitations were sent to all the property owners and residents within the transit-oriented community area, and the meeting is open to anyone interested in learning more about the project. Interested people who cannot attend are encouraged to review the information on the city's webpage. We have a project page for it, and or call our community development department. And it's informational, so no decisions are happening at the meeting. It's just basically trying to get people engaged in the process. Also, I think I've talked about this before, but there's a habitat conservation plan process that opened up countywide, and public comment period ends on June 25th. And in this process, the county is working with the local cities, state, and federal agencies to develop a new strategy to protect Sonoma County's sensitive plants, animals, and natural habitats. And it's intended to make it easier to meet state and federal environmental requirements while enhancing the region's ecological resilience. And it more formally defines each agency's role in the process, and finalizing the agreement will allow the formal work of the HCP to get started. So ultimately, this is going to be probably a 10-year long process to get the HCP done. It's very long, slow process, but we are starting it now with, with the other cities in the county. Also, in August, I expect to be bringing an update to the development impact fees to council. So we'll be having that conversation in August, as well as hopefully Flayhaven Estates. That's the project on Old Redwood Highway out on the south border of the city. And then possibly also 120 East Cotati Avenue, the affordable housing project. So just lastly, on recreation, we're showing 2 more movies this season. We had a movie night already, and we're showing 2 more. They'll coincide with our National Night Out on August 5th and our Grub in the Hub Food Festival on September 20th. We have our Cotati Farm Box program. It's up and running, and we'll continue running through weekly through the end of October. We also are finishing up after numerous stakeholder meetings, public meetings, talking about the barns at the ranch. We're also finalizing those designs, just getting final feedback from the Open Space District, and then we're going to have the concept designs ready to start talking about publicly. And then reminder, the Farmers Market every Wednesday from 4:30 to 7:30 in La Plaza Park, and that runs through the end of September. And then last but not least, the 32nd Annual Cotati Kids Day Parade and Festival will be here on Saturday, July 12th. And the theme this year is Dynamite Cotati, and there's free breakfast at Church of the Oaks, parade at 8 a.m., and then parade at 10 a.m., and then stroll through downtown, and the festival goes from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. in La Plaza Park. And you guys all know what it is, but it's a lot of fun, so if you're in town, I encourage you to attend. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, if there are any.
Any questions for the city manager?
I just have one question. On the Putnam Park, there was some conversation about the roots on those redwood trees. Were any mitigation plans established for those, or any follow-up?
The construction inspector continues to monitor that. There are some mitigation measures in terms of, any larger roots have to, if they can't, they're not supposed to cut roots over 2 inches in diameter. And if they do, they have to mitigate. There's a mitigation process for that, as well as trying to keep the construction equipment 10 feet from the base of the trees, which the contractor wasn't always following the rules, but we've been trying to get them back on track there, especially with the sycamores in the front. So, yeah.
I had a question about the water main flushing. Did we not do the filtering recirculating thing this year?
We did not. What we did was we shut down well 2 because it seems to be the culprit, as we are setting up a project to evaluate that well and seeing if it needs treatment. So the circulation was expensive. It was $100,000 every time we did that. And so this year, we're doing it the old-fashioned way. So,
and given that the water supply is in good shape right now, is that a project we could do during high water times in the winter, or does it have to wait until the summer to do?
this is a good time to do it.
Well, good time for us. It's just, it's the time when the water supply is, not going to be refilled until next winter, so I'm just.
In terms of our total volume of water, it's a fraction of a percent that gets wasted. And it is for system maintenance. It's a very, it's a necessary process to get that water circulated and flushed. So.
We can also, though, continue to talk about the timing of the projects, because I think you could switch the timing of it.
Just an idea, because, saving that water was our rationale for spending that money for those years, and that rationale, and maybe not this year, but in many years still exists. So I just want to know what options there are to not.
Yeah, we've had conservation years, and so certainly in those years we don't want to do it.
Yeah, that would make sense. I mean, there are times of year when they're releasing water for flood control when there's too much water anyway. Seems to make sense. A good time to do it, right? Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to council member reports, and I'm going to start down with Councilmember Sparks.
Sure. I attended a meeting on June 13th of the 2x2 had convened a group to discuss the safety operation, the simulation that they're going to be doing on the Great Shakeout Day on October 16th. So there's going to be a drill, and they're only going to be doing it at 2 schools in the district. It's going to be Thomas Page Academy and University at La Fiesta. So we started looking at a pretty detailed scenario. They're going to simulate some structural damage to certain buildings and a gas line rupture or the smell of a gas leak, and then evacuate just like one grade, not do a full school evacuation. But the point of it is to just get our lines of communication open between the police and the cities and the schools and start getting ready for some kind of emergency evacuation. So Lieutenant Gooden was there and did a great job representing the city and had a lot of great discussions. So we'll be meeting again in early August to continue with that work.
Councilmember Harvey.
Okay. On the 11th, I attended the Marin Sonoma Mosquito Vector Control District, and it's that time of year, so we passed our budget. So we now have a approved budget and the fees for this year. On 6/12, I attended the Sonoma County mayors and council members with many of our colleagues. We had a great presentation from Dr. Robert Eiler. That was a pretty good presentation. I also attended that day the Santa Rosa Plain GSA, and I have annual reports for each of you that you can have. And I also attended that day the Public Safety Policy Committee meeting, and that one was on Zoom, and we talked a lot about what's going to happen and how to move forward with Prop 36, given the funding situation that we have. So they're trying to put together things that can be done. On 6/17, I attended the Master Plan on Aging Caregiving, and we're moving forward with the tasks for what we want to do for this year, so we keep edging that along. On 6/18, I attended the Marin Sonoma Mosquito Vector Control. They have an employee appreciation barbecue where all of the managers cook for all the employees, and got roped into playing cornhole. I didn't sign myself up. I was signed up, but that was a lot of fun, and it was good to, most of the time when we have our board meetings, because they're at night, we really don't get to have much interaction with the employees, so it was great to meet those folks. On 6/19, I was supposed to have Waste Management Agency meeting, but it was canceled, so I didn't have that. And there was also supposed to be a Rotary meeting, but I went, and apparently, because I'm kind of not in their email list yet, they had canceled it but didn't notify me, so I went all by myself. And last but not least, I worked at the Cotati Music Festival, and it was great. I mean, it was really, I think, a great time had by all. So that's all I have.
Great. And I'm just going to continue it on the line, take my turn. On the 12th, at the Sonoma County Mayors and Council Members Association, and the board meeting that preceded the general membership meeting, we had the LAFCO seat that we talked about a couple of meetings ago, and our choices were elected to those positions. So Susan Adams as the primary member, ABAG Executive Board, sorry. Yes. And Stephen Zolman to the alternate position. On the 13th, I was in a Zoom meeting with representatives of a number of local governments with a member of Pro Tem McGuire's staff about AB 306, which is the no changes to building codes, one that we took an opposed stance on. So I was just there so that there could be one or two electeds there. It was mostly pros talking to the staff about all the problems with the bill. And that staff member gave us more direction on whom to talk to next. And at the music festival, I checked IDs for 2.5 hours, and I can report that 40-year-old men are just as happy to be carded as 40-year-old women. So, Vice Mayor.
Okay, thank you. On June 12th, I also attended the Revenue and Taxation Policy meeting online with CalCities. We received materials in email after the meeting about the city manager's sales tax working group update, which included modeling for a 60-40 and a 50-50 split of taxes, and that's on e-commerce, on a place of origin versus distribution. Cotati would be, if we agreed on either 50-50 or 60-40, we could receive a tax gain from that of up to 10%. So that's something positive. I don't know if it'll move forward. We also received the overview of transportation funding and future impacts by Frank Jimenez of the Legislative Analyst's Office, and I have all the records that they sent to me after the meeting. On June 12th, I didn't attend the SCMA because I received the 2025 Spirit Award for the 2nd District from the county's Commission on the Status of Women. I was honored to receive this recognition along with a one woman for all the districts, so it was very nice. On June 13th, Friday, I went to the Regional Parks Foundation meeting. They're looking for water park sponsors and prizes. Also, there's a naming contest for the parks-themed Hazy IPA through Fog Belt Brewery and a golf tournament that's coming up. So there's a naming for the parks. If anyone knows anyone looking for a job, the parks are hiring park ranger trainees right now. So they're looking for people that have like EMT type backgrounds. And the recruitment is open right now. It closes on June 30th. So make sure you let people know if they're interested in applying for that. On June 18th, I went to San Rafael for the Marin Latino Leaders meeting in San Rafael, and we heard from the Library and Recreation Department, the assistant director. They have a combined recreation and library department, and they're remodeling their Pickleweed Park, I think is what it's called, which is in the Canal District. And I also met people from the San Rafael Heritage, and I told them about the Cotati Historical Society, so I'm trying to connect them right now because they want to come take a tour and learn more about Cotati history. On June 20th, I went to Association of Bay Area Government, ABAG, General Assembly meeting. Did you know that there's 101 cities and 9 counties that are a part of ABAG? That's a whole lot of people. And out of that, there's 35 people on the executive committee. I'm not an executive committee, but I'm a voting member because the city is. The ABAG budget continues to be a challenge because of pension obligations, which they will continue to pay. Currently, they're looking at options to monetize their Beale Street building. They do have a building, so looking at how they can monetize, whether they sell it or lease it, or they're not sure because right now the real estate market is tough right now, especially in San Francisco. One of the biggest things was changes to the bylaws. They had some minor edits, but the biggest change was how the chair and vice chair is going to be selected. In the past, it's been a secret ballot where anyone can be selected. So it could even be someone that's not on that 35-member executive committee that can all of a sudden show up in their chair or vice chair of the committee. So we changed it so that they could be selected from the executive committee versus the at-large membership, which I thought was a good change. Let's see. So the executive committee is going to bring a recommendation of chair, vice chair back to General Assembly for approval for a more transparent process. And also, we received an economics presentation by Christopher Thornsberg, which was also about the funding, the budget situation right now in the state and impacts from federal government. And he really talked about housing, about how that's something. And we also had a panel after where Councilmember Susan Adams, Ronan Park, was one of the members, where they talked about how there's a lot of things that impede housing, the ABs and the SBs that kind of impede a lot of the housing development. So that was a good meeting that we had. We also took the SMART train with Ronan Park and Hillsburg City Council members to ABAG, to the ferry, and then we walked to the Beale Street building. So that was a good day of walking and taking alternative transportation. And also on June 21st, I did also help at the Cotati Music Festival. So I was there all day from setup to the afternoon. So it was a good long day, but I was happy to help, and it was a great crowd. A lot of great music. A lot of people came out and enjoyed the day. Thank you.
Councilmember Savage.
All right, thank you. On June 17th, I attended the Library Advisory Board, the lab. They did not have enough voting members present to conduct business, but I did get to meet Barbara McKenzie and speak with her, and the Library Commission is reviewing the function and purpose of the labs, and they'll be sharing their findings with us and any opinions or updates they have once they've completed that process. 2 libraries are reopening. They're closed last year for major renovations. Hillsburg is actually opening up tomorrow, I believe, and Petaluma is opening up in August. And we've seen quite a few of the Petaluma residents come and utilize our library during that time. Pride Market was really successful. I want to thank the staff who helped out with that, the kids' activities that we had for them. There was about 20 service providers from around the county. And I sat with the library, Jennifer Ryder, the branch manager, and we had over 100 people come up and gave away swag and signed the people up for library cards. It was a really busy time. Last Friday, I attended the Sonoma County Mayors and Commissioners Association Legislative Committee, and they went through several bills. A couple they put on their watch list. I'll just share two. One is AB 532, which will allow retail water agencies to use payer funds for payment relief for citizens. So that is going to be coming before the Assembly. And then Senate Bill 569, kind of being supported by San Diego and Cal Cities. It would require Caltrans to have a liaison in every office to work with cities on removing homeless encampments. It's being reported that encampments on Caltrans land is taking 2 months or more to remove, where encampments on other land in cities takes about a week to remove. So they're trying to address that issue there. Also, the next meeting in July is canceled, but there is an August meeting, and the speaker will be our Senate leader, Mike McGuire. So the alternative and the primary members are requested to go to that, so there's a good attendance for that meeting. And I also enjoyed being at my first Katati Music Festival and shoveling ice and pouring wine for 3 hours.
Great, thank you. Was there information received after the agenda was posted?
Not this time, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we are adjourned at 7:36.